Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Louis Fenter from WildTech. For those who haven't met, I run up the head of the Microsoft Enterprise division here within WildTech. On the presentation today, I've got Riaan. Riaan is going to be doing a hands-on demonstration of some of the stuff that we're talking about. So less of the capability and more of the actual hands-on demonstration of the application. All right. We have 30 minutes today, and there's a lot to cover, so we are going to dive right in. In the session today, we're going to just address probably two of the key questions that people typically have when looking at Copilot and AI. The one obvious one is where to start. It's in the media everywhere. There's a lot that people hear and read, and um, uh, it's probably everywhere you turn. There's AI in the news, and what we're going to do is we're just going to probably give you a heads up as to where to start. The second point we're going to look at is maybe just giving tips and tricks on dealing with resistance. Obviously, that's a topic in its own, but maybe just some initial capability. And then we're also going to just demonstrate some of the quick, useful features around AI and how it can just drive efficiencies in the business, just to give you a bit of a tidbit flow that can be used specifically in dealing with the first two questions there. And then and then we're going to dive into the main event, and that is just looking and using AI specifically in the modern sales space process that we have today, and then we'll dive in and just try and answer as many questions as we can in the Q&A section, and we'll attempt to do this all within 30 minutes. For those who joined late, once again, this is a recording, so you can watch it at any time if you so wish. All right, let's dive in. One of the key questions we typically get asked is there's so many different applications for AI. The biggest question we typically ask is where to start. It's not a one button you press and it gets used throughout the organization. I think the key thing to consider here is that it's a piece of technology that can be embedded into a specific process that just drives efficiencies in that process. Now we're going to show it in a general term, but we're also going to give specific use cases of where it can be used. The idea behind this, and probably the question you've got to ask yourself is, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis that takes a lot of time that you know can be done easier? So this is, if we show you the capability, try and answer that question for yourself, because that probably gives you an indication of really where to start. Okay. We're going to really pivot because we've got a specific use case, and because we use it day in and day out, is how Copilot is used in the sales process. So that's going to be the main event that we're working with today. All right. But if you want to ask that question, where are you wasting time? Where you feel you're wasting time, and how AI can help you drive that. All right. The second question that we're sort of faced with on a day-to-day basis is just how to deal with resistance. Like, we know that AI is disrupting the way that we're working on a day-to-day basis. It's going to change the way that we interact with our customers, because any piece of this technology that drives efficiencies is going to be used. It's just going to champion the way that we go to market. Now, typically people have the question like, no, they're not going to put all their data in there. It's going to read everything that they need to read, and it's going to take over their jobs. And it's the fear of change that usually drives a lot of this. All right. What we what we've seen what we've seen though is this is not the first time this has happened in history. It's happened over and over and over again. And we're going to give you a little bit of example of that. But the impression here is to let people understand what it does. It doesn't overtake their jobs. It's not a whole Terminator 2 scenario. It's more a case of, okay, where where can I use this? And if people realize it's just another tool that they can use to help them do their job a lot quicker, a lot more efficient, that they can get better outcomes, then it is the holy grail to actually getting them to use it. All right. So a typical example that we use is, we were working with a company, not a very large company, but we were having the discussion about AI and Copilot and how it can be used in their processes. And there was surprisingly not a lot of resistance from the owner, who's a more mature guy, has been in the industry for a long time. And we thought, well, we expected more resistance from him, and we sort of prepared for that. And we pivoted. We said, mate, Michael, you haven't been upset about this. You haven't been upset about the journey or anything like that. If in fact you've actually embraced it, like you've taken it better than most organizations that we've seen. And he said, Louis, I'm just going to take this example. When I was at school, we used to use sliding rules to do our mathematical sums, etc. Used to take forever. It was fraught with mistakes, etc. It was a pain to use with. And then when calculators came along, we knew this as a tool that could be used, and people were scared to use it. They didn't understand it, etc. You fast forward 10 years, and then you imagine like everybody at school nowadays goes to write their exams with a calculator. It's like it's not even cheating anymore. It's almost like an expected tool to use, because why would you go through all that pain and effort of putting up multiple pages of calculation when it can be punched in a calculation? You still get the end result a lot quicker. And I thought that that was just too good a argument not to share with us, with this audience. I think the key thing is to say that you still need to know what buttons to press in a calculator. So you still have to understand the basics. You still have to understand your job. You still needs to understand where you're going to get to with that information. It's just helping you get there quicker. All right. The same with this. Like it's not. You still have to learn to ask the same right questions. You still have to put in the right language. You still have to have the insights to know what questions to ask for to give meaningful results for the outcomes you want. It's just going to help you get there quicker. And that's what we're going to try and demonstrate. All right. So the easiest way that I can demonstrate this is to basically put it in a practical example. And we were at the AI conference in Microsoft 2 or so weeks ago, and they demonstrated this. And that's probably one of the quick wins that you can see in an organization. And that is the ability to say, there's 150-page report, and let's say there's 10 of those 150-page reports, all right? And your job is to read them, summarize them, make sense of them, give meaningful insights off the back of them. That's one example. There's another example. You get a big manual you have to read. Why don't you imagine going through that manual? It'll take hours, days, weeks to go through all that information. Whereas we can use AI now to speed read it for us, and we can just ask the relevant questions that we need or that we're hoping to extract from that. All right. So the best way to demonstrate this is actually to show you this in a live example. And with that, I'm going to pass over to Riaan, who's already prepared something for us that he can walk us through. All right. Riaan, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Louis. All right. So, yeah, just to carry on where Louis left off. So basically, just to showcase two scenarios where we can show how Copilot can be used to boost productivity on a daily basis. And yeah, just to help users save time and basically focus on the important things that they need to work on. Right. So first use case I want to demonstrate quickly is just using the normal Copilot chat feature, right? So just to give you a quick background, say I'm just a regular Microsoft user. I just received a pretty complex flow chart. I'm not a technical person or anything like that. So I want to pick up this flow chart, put it into Copilot, and basically understand what's happening within this flow chart, and also get a better understanding of any technical aspects of it, right? So let's just have a look at the example. So just as an example, this is a flowchart. This is an integrations flowchart between different systems and applications, right? So as a user, I just want to then add it into Copilot. And let's just use that image, right? So this is an image generator. We're going to do file examples as well. Let's say, please summarize the following image, right? Right, so I'm asking Copilot now to run through this image, extract any information that it can, maybe give me some reference links on if there's specific components that's mentioned in it. So if I want to do more research or self-learning or anything, I can then use those references and go onto the web and get more information. But yeah, let's just give it a few seconds and see what information it will pull out. So instead of having to go manually research the information within the image, this saves me a lot of time by just asking Copilot just to basically summarize it for me and extract as much information out of it as possible. Let's give it a few more seconds. All right, so let's see what it came back with. So off the bat, I can see the image that I've uploaded. So it's identified it as a flowchart or diagram that outlines the integration and data flow between various Microsoft services. So this, again, is all just from a flat file. It's just an image file. It was able to then draw out specific components within that flowchart. So it talks to the different technologies. So again, if I'm not a technical person, I need to start understanding what's going on within this diagram. I can then already see like different technologies within this. It gives a brief description of each of those, so you can already start getting understanding of what's going on here. Then apart from that, like I mentioned, there's different references. So anything that is pulled from the web in order to gather more information, it actually gives me those references. I can then dive deeper into those links in order to get more information. So yeah, already gives me a lot to get started with. Based on this image, then I can use the information as is, or if I have additional questions that I want to then ask based on the information that was generated, I can then go ahead and ask Copilot. So I've got a few pre-loaded questions that I can use as examples, or if you want to draft your own questions, then you can do that as well. So let's maybe just use an example here. So Microsoft Graph was one of the components mentioned within the flowchart. And again, as a user, I just want to know what is Microsoft Graph, right? Let's give it a second to respond. Okay, and then again, Copilot will give me the information on what exactly is Microsoft Graph, and I can then dive deeper into additional details if I need to, right? So that's a quick example, just in the general Copilot chat, based on an image, what we can extract. Second example, again, regular user or maybe a project leader in any role, doesn't matter. Let's say, for instance, I just received an annual report, right? So Walt Disney is one of the examples that we use throughout this demo. You'll see it on the sales side as well. But yeah, so this is just an annual report as an example that was pulled from the internet, right? You can see there's lots of information. It's 140 pages, got tables and figures within that, right? So as a user, obviously, like we said earlier, spending time having to go through an extensive report like that is not always, everyone doesn't always have time to do that. So when I received this report, I just quickly want to generate a summary of the key points within this report, right? So again, this is an example. I can use Copilot for Microsoft 365, the chat feature, and I can pull in that document, and I can then say, please give me a bullet list of key points from this annual report, right? So you'll note there's always pre-generated prompts that you can use, but with the AI chat, it's really free reign. So once you start getting used to it, you can build up your own questions. Let's just try that again. Sometimes it needs to load it first. So yeah, like I said, this is a pretty big report.
Only in a demo.
Always.
Maybe just load it again. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's see what it brings up.
5 seconds ago.
Yeah, maybe let's just try Word format quickly. All right. So yeah, it works on different document types. I think it might just because we're on this call, it's a bit slow to load. So I've just used the Word function or the Word file, same file. Right, so but the gist of it is looking into that document, I've asked Copilot then just to create some key points within, based on the information that's in that document. So from a 140-page document, I can then get the listed bullet points. I can then decide what I want to do with this information. This might be sufficient if I want to just quickly generate a report or send out an email or anything or update. I can then copy this information and then take it further. Or then again, based on the content that it's read through the document, it's going to then preload some prompts that I can use based on that as well. So different questions that I can ask, I can dive deeper and say, based on the table information, for instance, give me specific figures within that document based on revenue, maybe some expense reports, anything that I want to pull out from that document. And then again, with the reference as well, so specific key points, I can then drill down into the reference part where it will actually show where it's extracted that information. Yeah. So yeah, that was just quickly to show very simple examples just on the Copilot chat side of things. In general, how users can utilize some of the Copilot functions. Obviously, there's a lot of Copilot plugins across the board within different products, which we'll probably cover in some later sessions. But yeah, just on a high level, simple example to show you guys just some of the functionality over there. Right. So I'm going to hand over to Louis just to discuss some further points, and then we'll get back to the sales process that we want to demonstrate.
Cool. Thank you, Riaan. I'm just going to share my screen again. Share screen, and I'll just quickly share the screen over there. Share. All right, so that pretty much demonstrated the quick read function. What we're going to focus now is really pivoting to what we use on a day in and day out basis, and basically the sort of use case that we use is like, if you look at a typical salesperson's job, there's about 70% of their time is spent on non-sales activities. All right, administrative activities, generating necessary reports, etc. There's a lot of efficiencies that can be built into the process. And what we were trying to do is look at what the model salesperson does, all their touch points that they typically do, and then building efficiencies in that. All right. So because we use this, we thought this would be one of where we start the journey. And we already know that this journey is just the start. We know that this is actually changing the way that the sales processes are run. And we also know that it's going to change the way that we go to market specifically there. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to touch on a few points over here, just because of the time limitation that we have. We are looking at future events where we can expand a little bit more. Okay, so originally now we're going to just touch base on the typical tools that a salesperson uses. All right, and we've just taken the way that we have. Obviously, Outlook, email has always been a very powerful communication measure. That sending quick quotations, proposals, information, etc. Or email has typically been a very powerful tool. So we're gonna work a little bit in that space there. We're also post-COVID realized the power or strength of teams and how people interact, their meetings, etc., that happen within teams, the way that Copilot's actually embedded in teams, and the efficiencies that it drives in teams alone. That this could be an efficiency gain throughout the organization. It doesn't necessarily pertain to just the sales process. All right, cool. And we're also going to be talking about the use of it within Dynamics. So Copilot is embedded in all these little places over here. Now, Dynamics, just for reference, is our CRM tool that we use internally. So it looks at our leads and opportunities and tracks our pipeline. And we've created a Disney, which is just a demonstration account to demonstrate some of the capability there. Just to let you know, that is just part of the journey. The follow-on journey from this is we can use Copilot to actually generate quotes and proposals and PowerPoint presentations where it touches on the other front office applications. But that will probably have to be in a future presentation. All right. With that, I'm going to hand over back to Riaan. Riaan, you ready for the next phase?
Yep. Yeah. Let's go.
All right, cool. I'll stop sharing. You take over.
Right. So yeah, like we mentioned, we just quickly want to show the sales side of things. So we're going to focus on Copilot specifically within Outlook, Teams, and then our CRM system as well. Right. So again, just to give you a background quickly, the scenario that we're dealing with, a little bit of role playing that we're doing here. We again have our Walt Disney company. So I, as a salesperson, recently engaged with the Walt Disney company as a new sales opportunity. Yeah, might have had some discussions on email with different contacts within their company, but just for this example, so say for instance today I got an inquiry from Donald Duck at the Walt Disney company that's now coming to my mailbox. So as a salesperson within Outlook to get started on this side, I just want to see how can I leverage Copilot then to again just fast track a lot of the mundane tasks that I have to do, say on emails for sales, and yeah, just boost some productivity as well, and get things out a lot quicker. So once I've opened up the email, I can see it's from Donald Duck. There's some questions about the product, maybe some budget questions, timeframes, anything like that. So it's a general inquiry, and then yeah, just a standard signature from Donald Duck there as well, right? So right off the bat, let's see what I can do with Copilot just on this email. So I can see immediately that this contact that I'm dealing with has not been added to our CRM system as yet. So first thing I want to do is get that contact into the system, right? So by using Copilot, I'm just going to say add it to Dynamics 365. So based on what's in the signature and within the email, I can see there's already, most of the information is already populated, right? And then within that, if I do want to add additional details, I can do it at the stage, but yeah, I can just save that record now. So AI, again, has saved me a few minutes there just by pre-populating that information and creating that contact record. So quick and easy. All right, so there's my contact details created. I can already see some related items. So a lot of the stuff is linked back to the sales CRM side. But yeah, just focus on the Copilot. So second thing that I want to do, maybe as a salesperson, I now want to respond back to this email. So I'm just quickly gonna link this record into my CRM system onto the opportunity. So any replies that I do back through Copilot will then be tracked against that sales opportunity as well, right? And then there's a section that says I ask Copilot to, and then there's draft email, right? So if I click on the drop down, I've got different options. I can reply to the inquiry, make a proposal, address a concern. So Copilot, based on the selection, is then going to help me draft this email to respond back to the customer. All right. So as an initial response, based on the content, again, this is the response then that AI Copilot would generate. So I can see it's quite a lengthy response, but it's going to take into consideration all the main points that were mentioned within the email, right? And I can probably click down into specific points where you will see that it's actually taken out of the context of the email to then make sure that it responds to those specific points, right? So based on this draft, maybe I want to adjust a little bit, the draft a little bit, okay? So you'll see then I've got options here. I can make it a little bit shorter. Maybe I want to have it in a more friendly tone, and then perhaps suggest a meeting time for the next upcoming meeting with the customer. All right. Okay, back to Copilot. Let it redraft the response. Okay, and then I can see there it's a bit of a shorter response. You'll see once you read through it, it's going to be on a more friendly note. Okay, once I'm happy with this email, I can then reply back to the customer, right? Obviously, I need to just give it a quick read, maybe make some adjustments if I want to clean it up a bit. But yeah, that's the gist of it. Again, Copilot just being used just to save me time in drafting that email and pulling in those different conversation points, all right? Okay, so that's from the Outlook side, just 3 things that I can do through Copilot. So let's jump into the sales CRM side quickly. see what we can use Copilot for here. So again, I'm the same salesperson working on the Walt Disney Company. This is my sales opportunity record. So you can imagine as a salesperson, I might be working on 10 different sales opportunities on a daily basis. There's a lot of information that flows between the different opportunity records and so on, and a lot of incoming stuff that I need to deal with. So if I look at a sales opportunity record in the sales app, there's a few things that I can do to use Copilot. So let's just launch it on here. So again, if I just quickly want to get information, highlight some points within a sales opportunity, I can then ask Copilot, please get some info on this opportunity, maybe just generate a quick summary. So obviously it's going to look at all the information that's been entered onto that sales opportunity and give me a quick summary. So with that, I can see who's the company, I can see maybe estimated revenue, what the customer needs are, proposed solutions that were given to them on that record, estimated close date, and so on. So the more information you build onto it, obviously the more AI would then pull in information like stakeholder information and so on. Right? Then based on the summary information, I can then again decide what do I want to do with it. Do I want to copy it to email, just copy it into a report? Do I want to drill down further into this information and maybe do other different things? So maybe ask it to help you prepare for a sales appointment, any outstanding tasks or emails that I need to then complete within that. So different options in there. And again, there's the free text option as well that you free to go and ask questions that you need to. Right. Then if I want to look at the team side, so I'm just going to jump from the sales opportunity directly instead of just opening Teams. So say as part of the process as a salesperson, I want to go and chat to my team members about this specific sales opportunity. So there's a collaborate option. So all these apps are kind of interlinked and can be accessed through different points. But yeah, open Teams. So I've got a Teams channel over here called Disney Demo. So I can now decide based on the sales opportunity that's linked in here, do I want to go and start a chat with some team members? Do I want to schedule a meeting either with the internal members or some of the stakeholders as well? Whatever you need to do on that sales opportunity. Coming back to Copilot, what we just want to show quickly. So say, for instance, I hold a meeting now about this record. I've got some of the attendees from the customer side as well. We do a whole requirements discussion and we record that Teams meeting. So AI as a tool then sits on top of the Teams application as well. And just based on that recording, we can then generate certain insights from that meeting. All right. So I just took some screenshots of a recent call that we conducted. Sorry, let me just jump to this one. All right, so just based on a recording, so there's the actual video recording and then there's a full transcript recording as well. So what AI does then, or the Copilot side within Teams, it can generate just based on that some highlights from that meeting. So any highlights that I need to take into consideration. If there's any follow-up tasks that I picked up that were mentioned within the meeting, it will then prompt me for those, and then from that task mention, I can then, follow-up mention, I can then go create a task for either for myself or specific users. So there's the example over there. Right, it's got a whole sentiment analysis section. So again, based on the transcript recording, it can actually then analyze and see throughout the call what the sentiment was, and then within specific points. So you can see there's positive, neutral, negative. Specific points within the conversation, I can then drill down into those specific points to see what was the actual conversation about, if it was negative or positive, either way, all right? And then action further what I need to action based on that. Sometimes there's stuff that you might also forget throughout a call. So again, with the follow-ups, I might want to go see in the transcript what was that follow-up that I actually mentioned, and then create a task from there, right? It also then, picks up different mentions. So key tags throughout the conversation. So again, as a salesperson, this is very helpful if you're talking about all the different technologies and everything that they're using, at least in our industry. But yeah, gives you that insight on that level as well. And then, yeah, on the team side, you can really then use the AI generated information to either drive sales further, manage your tasks, or anything that you need to do internally, or just in general generate a report out of that. Right, so that was on the Outlook CRM and team side. Like I mentioned earlier, AI sits within various tools, but yeah, we'll show that within the following sessions as well. Right, so just going to hand over to Louis for the closing remarks. Thanks, Louis.
Thank you, Riaan. Yeah, let's share this again. All right, modern sales. All right, cool. So just with that, there's so many points to mention in there, and I know we really are flying through it, but there are certain elements of that we can almost create a discussion on itself in terms of actually breaking it open and showing you more capability in each one of those spaces. But we're very keen to get your feedback from this presentation. If there's specific things you want us to delve into a little bit more, we might even create a separate session for that. But with that being asked, I see there's already a few questions that are coming through. We've got Alex monitoring it on that side, and there are a few questions that have come through already. So I might just jump into see if we can answer one or two of that, conscious that we're already at the 30-minute mark. So for those that have joined and need to jump off, really appreciate it. Thanks to you very much for your time. Watch the space for the follow-up presentations. For those that want to stay back and see some of the Q&A, I'll happily jump and continue for another few minutes or so. Thanks, Louis and Riaan, for the summary. In terms of bullet point summaries that you just shared, how accurate have you been in finding them? How accurate has it been? All right, that's a very good question, actually. So what we've seen is the best way to answer that is actually to try it yourself. All right. Those that are familiar with ChatGPT and how they use it, etc., you can see it's something that comes up quite often. They summarize something there. Maybe it doesn't generate it accurately enough in the first time, and then they have to ask more specific questions, or maybe even frame the way that they want their answers to be answered, either in a friendly tone or a shorter summary or more specifics on a technology set or whatever it is. It's the same thing about making sure you put the right numbers in the calculator to get the right answer. Okay, so the idea there is to probably play around with it a bit. Generally speaking, I always find that if I have to give a percentage on it, it's sort of between 80 and 90%. All right. So if I get there and it gives me a framework at least to work from, that's already a great start. I then typically take that, flesh it out, remove unnecessary points, okay, and then post it through. And that's the way I generally use it. All right. Riaan, I don't know if you've got any other comments you'd like to make around that.
I know. I think you covered it.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. What subscription is needed across Copilot for Sales? My company doesn't have it available yet, so I'm wondering if it's possible to sign up as an individual user. Okay, most definitely. The way that we the licensing, I have to say, has been scrambling a little bit, while Microsoft have been trying to find out where to use it and how to actually ring fence it. So it's a very valid question. You can definitely sign up as an individual. Like you can definitely leverage that power individually. You don't have to sign up through the whole company. Typically, what we say to an organization is when we start is we just sign up a smaller group first, prove the point, get them across first. They almost trial it on behalf of the rest of the company. There's obviously a lot of questions that people have around just putting stuff into ChatGPT too, and I see it almost leads into another question around data security or data safety. Basically, the way it works and the architecture is something we actually go into detail when we're explaining this to a company. If you're using it as an individual, all right, it looks at what your profile is within the Microsoft ecosystem. So if you've got access to specific records only within the CRM, and you ask it about other records that you don't have access to, it's not going to be able to give you any information. The same applies with any emails. I can't ask it. It will look through my emails and my metadata or the data that I have access to and give a relevant answer to me from what it can see in my little bubble. but I can't ask it to look at Riaan's information and generate a response as per Riaan, anything to do with what Riaan has access to, unless I have access to the same thing. All right. So it's one thing that Microsoft have really pushed is that data security and data safety. All right. Another question. Oh, okay, I'm going to try maybe to do one or two more. Is there a way to use it in face-to-face meetings? Oh, you found a loophole. Okay, so this, I'm assuming that when you're asking this question, it's with regards to the team summary and that Riaan may have shown. If it is, I would say that is it doesn't work in that realm yet. Okay. I'm saying yet because it doesn't work there at the moment. Because when everybody signs in, it's got the user, it knows who's speaking from the microphones and the input, and it can generally dissect that information. So you can say, Riaan said this, Louwis said this, or whatever, dissect it and break out that ring fence stuff that it's presented in Microsoft. In the face-to-face meetings, it doesn't do it yet. I believe that in the future, there'll have to be a scenario where you do voice signatures. For example, number one, Louis, yes, I'm Louis, head of Microsoft at Wildtech. It picks up my voice signature, saves me, and has my user there. Then Riaan have to say his, and John would have to say his, and Donald Duck would have to say his, and it actually marks all of those out. And that's the way that it can pick up who's speaking when in the meeting. And then it probably has a capability, but at this point in time, it's just going to see as one user. So it doesn't work in that realm yet. Okay. All right, we're about 5 or 6 minutes over, so I might cap it there. To those that have stayed to the end, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for that. Keen to get your feedback. I know that Alex will be sending over an email to those that have jumped off. Everybody gets a summary here that they can share with a greater audience, so appreciate that too. So yeah, by all means, watch the space. Any questions, please feel free to reach us through the normal channels. Thank you for your time. Thanks, Riaan.
Thanks, Louis.
Okay, cheers.